What's good, everybody? Welcome back to my Master of Social Work journey, week 27 and week 28 in one. If you're new here, I'm Jaimon, and I'm doing my Master of Social Work at Aurora University. I'm already pretty much halfway through with my courses. I finish up this next week, and I'm in the middle of doing my first field internship. I'm doing great so far. I'm set to graduate next December. I got a year left. It's been a great process. I'm just blessed to be a part of this opportunity. And today I wanted to get into 3 signs that you're growing as a social worker if you're in grad school, because a lot of times we don't really pay attention or process the ways in which we are growing. The days kind of go by and stack up, so it's important to be able to just process and realize, how are we growing as a social worker? How is the Master of Social Work program preparing us for social work? And so I'm going to talk a little bit about that, and then also how it's helping me in my direct work with clients that I do. I've been doing direct work with clients, therapeutic services, since before I started my Master of Social Work. So when I started my Master of Social Work, I've been learning a lot of great things that I've been needing to know. So I'm just going to get into it, how I've been growing, and some ways that you can kind of see how you've been growing. So the sign number 1 is that your lens starts changing. You know you're growing, and your brain doesn't just see situations, but they see systems, right? You notice why a kid is acting out, despite just beyond his behavior, like why he's acting that way. What traumas has that person been through that is causing them to maybe react to a certain way to certain situations? What environments and resources influence that person's decisions, influence that person's belief in what they can do, and belief in themselves, when you really get to realize these things. So for example, I'm working with a guy. He was in 6th grade last year. He's in 7th grade now. He's huge. The dude's almost 6 foot. He's probably around 200 pounds. He's a really big kid for his grade. He bullies other kids. He picks on other kids, but he doesn't bully and pick on other kids because he just wants to in his heart. But one, he grows up in a more hostile environment where kids pick on and make fun of each other, and where it's cool to be bad. He gets picked on for his speech, for the way he speaks. He gets picked on for his reading level, how he can't read on grade level. And so a lot of times that gets to him when kids making fun of him in class. It gets him angry and gets him more hostile. So you got to really look at the background. What's really went on in this person's life? What caused him to act this way? It also caused me to take a second to look at myself. Why do I act a certain way? Why don't I ask for people for help? I don't ask people for help because growing up, everybody who I counted on didn't come through for me. My dad did things like that, but I'm just saying, in my early childhood, the people who I felt like was supposed to be here for me wasn't. You know what I'm saying? So that carries a deep abandonment wound that I have, and it's important to be able to look at these. You stop saying, why is this person doing this, and start saying, what happened around them that led to this moment. When you truly realize that you would do the same exact thing that person would do if you were in their position, you were in their shoes, you had their life, you had their experiences, then you start looking in this lens. What happened in your life that caused this to start happening, or that led to this moment? Also, it really just helps with your empathy, and then your diagnostic lens, really starts to sharpen. You naturally start thinking like a clinician instead of a student. Number 2, you start becoming more confident with boundaries and professional judgment. So when I first started working, man, I was working 12 hours a day, 7 days a week. I answered any type of phone call. I said yes to everything. I made myself available, and now I had to learn to start closing off some of these doors. Quit saying yes to everything. Start setting boundaries. Don't work past certain times. Quit doing certain things. I quit spending money on clients. That's something that, I saw myself, hey, he's hungry. I want to be able to buy him something. But at some point, we got to be able to stop that, because we got to be able to create these boundaries, right? So, also I've really was able to catch myself making decisions with more clarity. I'm setting boundaries, and I'm not feeling guilty about it, because I understand that for me to be able to provide the best services that I can, I need to be able to be the best version of myself. I need to feel like the best version of myself. In order to do so, I need to make sure that I'm attending to my boundaries, so I have the time to do the things that I need to do. I have the space to be able to process feelings and be able to get off work at a good time, so I get a good night's rest, so I can be up and energized in the morning. Just little things like that, right? When to step in and when to step back. And also the professional judgment too. I don't have an ego to say, hey, this participant possibly needs to be referred out to someone with a little bit more experience in this area. That's something that I've learned to say. I can't selfishly try to serve everybody if I feel like that I don't have the skills equipped to properly be able to serve that participant. So therefore, I've caught myself referring to individuals that I work with just because I feel like we have to have that continuity of care. We have to really be careful on the services that we're providing. If we feel like that it's not working, then we need to, one, of course, look at ourselves and see what we could do, but also referring individuals out. You know what I'm saying? If we're not ready at that moment. Sign number 3 is you start regulating yourself faster. I've always said I've had great emotional regulation, but sometimes adulting in life hits, and there's all these other situations that you couldn't have expected. Getting into a fight at school, cool, I'm able to avoid those, but now it's like you have bigger issues. Now it's like you have debt. Now it's like you're going to court. Now it's like you're getting sued. Now it's like you have relationship things and stuff going on. So it's like a lot more things going on, and me using the things that I learned with my clients, I've been using them with myself. And I feel like that's what every therapist, therapeutic mentor, whatever you are, should do. If you're teaching something to your clients, you should be able to utilize these things yourself. I really started trying to take a pause before reacting sometimes, reflecting instead of spiraling, and walking into more tough cases with emotional stability. Now I see it, some of these cases, I'm not going to say don't emotionally affect me, because, some of them are hard, you know what I'm saying? These people are really going through it. But still, we're able to go in with a more clinical lens other than getting riled up into it. So if you've been feeling like the work is heavy but you're handling it better, if your lens is sharper, your boundaries are stronger, and your regulation is smoother, you're growing. You're becoming a stronger social worker, and you deserve to celebrate that. If you want more Master of Social Work weekly updates, you know where to tune in. We here every single week at Jaimon U. Maybe bi-weekly sometimes because it's get a little busy, but without further ado, we out. Jaimon U! And by the way, I got a torn rotator cuff, so I can't really do it all the way, but appreciate y'all for tuning in, man. Ladies and gentlemen, love y'all.